A very good afternoon to you. Welcome, stage 2 in the Tour of Turkey. 60 kilometers to go where they are at the moment, but this is what you're looking at in terms of scenery today. It's absolutely stunning here. We're on the coast, as all the Tour of Turkey is this year, right the way up to Istanbul. The Manavgat waterfalls. We're in Antalya for the finish today. Running from Alanya to Antalya, 150 kilometers in total, but absolutely amazing scenery here. Marcel Kittel, a winner yesterday over Andre Greipel. The 3 Germans in the top 4 places. Roger Kluge, good finish for him. And Metchelenko taking 3rd spot yesterday. Greipel will be out for revenge. Here is where we are today. Starting in Alanya and running up the coast. The wind being fairly favourable so far. Not too difficult in terms of crosswinds. There's always going to be a crosswind going up the coast, but not hugely nasty. There's definitely coming in off the coast, though. There are 2 sprints. One for the points jersey, which is green here in the Tour of Turkey, and one for the Turkish Beauty Spot sprint, which is a white jersey, currently being held by Mikhail Ignatiev, who went on that long breakaway yesterday. And then straight down towards Antalya, and when they get there, they double back on themselves just in towards the finish. There, as you can see. That is the profile of the day. It's not very hilly whatsoever. Tomorrow, on the other hand, is a completely different kettle of fish. Marcel Kittel leads overall in the turquoise jersey, whichever way you want to say it. Marcel Kittel and Andre Greipel are both level on points, so Greipel wears the points jersey, the green today. Mustafa Sayar of the Tokum team wearing the mountains classification, and Mikhail Ignatiev in the white Beauty Spots jersey. There he is. This is what they were like this morning. There is the leader's jersey on Kittel's shoulders. Sayar in the mountains classification jersey, and Andre Greipel in the green points jersey. All very happy indeed. Marcel Kittel winning well yesterday ahead of Andre Greipel, but you can tell what sort of finish it was yesterday. It was the big, fast, powerful sprinters. And it's going to be pretty much similar today, one would say. It's just one of those sorts of days. Long, flat stage in general. And rolling out at the start of today. Turquoise, the colour of the general classification jersey and pretty much of the whole tour. It's the sort of totem colour here. As race director gets back in the car. Turquoise, by the way, comes from the French for Turk. So very, very appropriate they are too. Well, an absolutely gorgeous day today. High temperatures, and in fact the week is due to be getting better as time goes on. 2:45 now the gap. It was about 4:50 at one point with about 80 kilometers to go, but it's Argos Shimano and Lotto Belisol who've put men on the front to try and bring things back. Argos have been tapping out the rhythm for most of the day, and now we've got a couple of other riders coming in as well. There is a breakaway of 6 riders at the moment. Clement Koretsky of the Bretagne team, Fabrizio Ferrari of Cajarual, Pietro Gravonsky of CCC Polsat in the orange, Quintero of Colombia, Junior Sano of the Japanese rider from Vini Fantini, and Ahmet Okan of the Torku squad. They have a man in a jersey already in this form of Mustafa Sayar in the mountains classification jersey. Ahmet Okan has just won the Beauty Spots sprint. Only 20 years of age, actually. The oldest man in the peloton is Junior Sano, 31 years of age. This is going to be a fine, fine race indeed. Argos Shimano doing most of the work on the front, bringing that gap down now in the all-white there. They've got a man from Lotto Belisol, but Blanco bringing up men towards the front. They were dicing with Argos yesterday, and Europcar, funnily enough, who had men up there, as well as Lotto Belisol on the run into the finish yesterday. They have Theo Bos as their named sprinter. But there could be, I mean, it could be an absolutely massive showdown, really, from big, tall, powerful sprinters if they were all on good form today. Theo Bos, André Greipel, and the leader there, Marcel Kittel, in the blue. In the commentary box, first time in the commentary box, on site with me is Magnus Backstedt. You would have liked this race, or certainly today, anyway.
Well, certainly the first two stages are, you know, very much in my liking. Very flat and big, wide open, fast roads with a nice bit of tailwind. So, looking at the sprint here as well, you know, today's sprint is absolutely beautiful. It's a little bit of an uphill. Wind is coming off the sea ever so slightly, which means it's going to be coming from the rider's right-hand side, which is, you know, it's going to cause for a very, very nice sprint, I think.
It's absolutely beautiful here today. Really super weather for bike riding, and this is the 49th time the Presidential Tour of Turkey has run. But you can see what the countryside is like behind Antalya if you've never been here. This Antalya, interestingly, was the third most visited place in the world for traffic, air traffic coming in and out. In a couple of years ago. It's a huge tourist destination, Antalya, not just for the outsiders, but for the Turks themselves. And you can see why. I mean, it's actually really built up here in Antalya itself with lots and lots of hotels, big, big, long beaches. On one end of the cove, it's all one of the bays, enormous bay. It's rocky and shelly, and the other side, just around the corner, 20 kilometers you go, and it's completely sandy in Lana. It's fantastic. Absolutely beautiful. The weather is perfect today, just a little bit of a crosswind, not too much. We'll take a short break.
Aspire Academy, a new realm of sport empowerment, where talented youth is nurtured, where pursuit of dreams is spurred, where dedication and passion are rewarded, where human potential is maximized, where champions are developed. Aspire Academy, where sports is a way of life.
You have a dream, and you have the passion. You want to go beyond what everybody else says is possible. Imagine you riding alongside a legend. This is your chance. Conquer the road.
Introducing Delimano, the Italian ceramic-coated cookware. Boil, bake, steam, saute, or fry. Faster, easier, healthier, and tastier. Delicious. Go to the Delimano website to learn more. Cook with joy. Live in comfort.
Saturn viert deze week haar 7e verjaardag met fantastische aanbiedingen. Zoals deze Samsung 40-inch Full HD LED-TV voor maar €329. Bestel online of kom naar een van onze winkels voor nog meer verjaardagsaanbiedingen.
Saturn, zo moet techniek.
I'm gonna love you like nobody's loved you. Come rain or come shine. High as a mountain and deep as a river. Come rain or come shine.
Ook bij Saturn de nieuwe BlackBerry Z10. Een intelligente en intuïtieve smartphone die zich steeds aanpast aan jouw behoeften.
Saturn, zo moet techniek.
Eurosport Player is the multi-screen service of the Eurosport channels. With Eurosport Player, watch Eurosport and Eurosport 2 live on computer, smartphone and tablet through a single subscription. Watch your favorite events through the catch-up service. Also enjoy exclusive content through the bonus channels. Eurosport Player. All sports, all emotions.
They had such a gas last year. The World Touring Cars are back in Slovakia for more. It's the first time for Lada, though, with James Thompson behind the wheel. And with 26 cars on the grid and a demanding up and down circuit, it means plenty of fireworks for this round 3 of the series.
The World Touring Car Championship live from the Slovakia ring, Sunday at 14:30 on Eurosport.
Japan quality. Yokohama, your tire.
Welcome back live here in Antalya in Turkey for the stage 2 of the Tour of Turkey. It's Lotto Belisol with Argos Shimano. They're wiping the sweat out the eyes. I'm not surprised. Magnus, it's pretty hot here already today, and some of these riders, I mean, I know a lot of riders quite like the heat or can tolerate the heat, but some of them will be coming into this race not quite used to it.
Well, certainly the more part of the riders will be, not used to the heat as such. With the weather we've had in the sort of western and northern part of Europe this year so far, it's, I think it's a welcome sight with the sunshine and the heat. But a lot of guys will probably be struggling to get the food in, to get the right type of energy in. Drinking enough is obviously going to be one problem. Some people might end up drinking too much because it's that hot. And it does take you probably about 2 or 3 days before you sort of start getting used to it a little bit and your body starts performing the way it should with the heat.
Well, I've done a good job in having 2 fairly flat sprint stages in order for some of these riders to acclimatise, because tomorrow is pretty hilly, I can tell you now. These are the men in the breakaway, by the way, just to remind you who they are. Clement Koretsky, who was in the breakaway in Paris-Roubaix, I think, for a long, long time. Just 21 years of age, of Britannia there. He's in the grey. At the front, Fabrizio Ferrari of Cajarual in the green and white with the yellow helmet. Pietro Gravonsky of CCC, as always in their customary trademark orange. Quintero of Colombia. Sano of Vini Fantini. And the Japanese rider, Sano, in the yellow. And Ahmet Orkan of Turku. They're doing a good job here. It was a fine sprint by Marcel Kittel to win yesterday. Had enough time to put his arms up and salute the crowd at the end of the line. And beating Andre Greipel, he seems to be coming back into some decent form, Magnus, because he had a pretty rubbish start to the year.
Yeah, he had a horrible start to the year and really struggled quite badly with with illnesses and so on. And I think especially after Tirreno Adriatico, he came down with something, with a flu, with a bug of some sort. And I've heard quite a few riders having had that trouble. And of course, the weather was quite difficult in Tirreno Adriatico, and that's never going to help you when you day in, day out, both training and racing, having to cope with such cold and wet conditions. But like you said, it's nice to see Marcel Kittel back to his probably close to his best, at least.
Well, if he's beating Andre Greipel, it must be pretty good, unless Greipel's on a bad day,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you never know. With sprints, there's a lot of opportunist taking as well. You got to get it right. You got to get your lead out train right, and then time the sprint to perfection to actually win it these days, because they are so fiercely contested. And we could see in 3rd place yesterday, Mitluchenko, a rider that no one probably thought of from the Turco team, and that just shows that a rider coming in and jumping, taking the opportunity, surprises everyone and ends up with a top placing.
Theo Bos is the man for Blanco. They've just been hanging back a little bit. They don't really have to do any work at the moment. They haven't got a jersey. They haven't got anything to protect in that sense, in the same way as Argos Shimano do. So they've got to keep doing that work on the front. But Bos missing out completely yesterday. Mark Renshaw and will be the man, or Graham Brown. They've got a good lead out train, or they should do anyway, with some experienced men. Renshaw and then Bos, before that Graham Brown, but didn't manage to get him in the right place at the right time. Luca Paolini little terrier that he is. He came ever so close, didn't he, in the Cobble Classics, Luca Paolini, and yet didn't manage to pull it off, which is, he's been around forever, this man.
Oh, he has been around for an extremely long time, but it's such a classy bike rider, though, and a good laugh to hang out with as well. I rode together with him a couple of years, and he is a really, really nice guy, but quite a fast sprinter as well. And yeah.
People underestimate his sprinting ability, but I think he was second or third in Milan-San Remo one year, I think, I remember. So he can certainly turn in a good sprint, and that was from a largish bunch as well.
And he's been up there in the World Championships in past years as well, so certainly a very classy bike rider. For some reason, one of the few Italians that love racing up in the north as well.
Yeah, a lot of them aren't that keen on it. Lamprey with Davide Vignano. Just trying to get some sort of attention from the team car. Maybe you missed his reset.
Yeah, of course, it's different here in Tour of Turkey. There's no race radio, like radios internally within the teams. So, you know, you're having to rely on getting back here to the last place in the peloton before you can start waving at your team car to get up there. Normally what you do is you basically press the button on your radio, make a call to the team car as you start to drift back, and the team car will start moving up ever so slightly until you almost meet at the back of the peloton. But here, get back there and raise your arm and wait for the car to turn up.
And that's what I've got to rely on, the old chalkboard. But in this case, it's a whiteboard these days, isn't it? Yeah. I noticed they were using the electronic board, weren't they, at the beginning of the season, the ASO on Paris-Nice and so forth, and I think when it absolutely teamed it down with rain, it stopped working. so you had to go back to using the chalkboard again.
Well, you know,
the old ways are always good. Actually, for those people who don't know how they deal with the timings, how did they used to deal with timings with the chalkboard? I mean, you don't just do them randomly, do you?
Yeah, the timing is always done by the commissaire or by the person on the lap board. A lot of the time the motorbike will take a point and a stop, wait for the peloton to turn up, and then drive back up to the front group again. Other times it's done via radio, where they basically call it and say, okay, we're going past this landmark here, and then they take the time when the next one go past.
It really is as simple as that, folks. So whenever you see us commentators not being able to tell the time gap, sometimes if you can see something at the side of the road, you can make an estimate at it, as was the World Championships, because I remember the Olympic Games, the pictures were absolutely appalling, and the graphics are absolutely appalling, but it's easy enough to get your stopwatch out or get your clock out and say, well, they've just passed that building on the left, and we'll wait till somebody else passes and we'll time it.
Well, sometimes that's how you work it as well. When you're sitting out there, if there's a wide open road and you can actually see the brake up in the distance or see the cars, what you do is you kind of look down on your clock and see, you think roughly when they're going past that mark, and then you wait and you kind of take the time on yourself on the bike at points. You know, you just got to do anything that can get you the information that you require to make your job in the best possible way.
Lotto Bellassol with one rider at the front, two now, and Argos Shimano, but also Katusha bringing riders to the front as well. It's going to be a big sprint today, but it's all about this timing we were just talking about, just bringing them back within the correct amount of time. The last thing we want to do is, or they want to do, is bring back the breakaway too early, because some joker will always try his hand. More difficult today to try and get away on this flat surface, but even so, somebody will always try and get away in a counter-attack, especially the local teams. They want to show something. Turku, for example, or the smaller teams like Accent or Eufany or Britannia, they'll all really go for it.
Aspire Academy, A new realm of sport empowerment, where talented youth is nurtured, where pursuit of dreams is spurred, where dedication and passion are rewarded, where human potential is maximized, where champions are developed. Aspire Academy, where sports is a way of life. Dealing with the challenges ahead requires focus, concentration, and a will to succeed. The International University Sports Federation, representing 163 countries, promotes sports values in tune with the academic spirit. Thousands of students from around the world participate in the events it organizes. And what do they learn? Friendship, integrity, cooperation, and achievement. The International University Sports Federation. Excellence in mind and body.
Het design is bekroond. En de nieuwe Kia ProSeat maakt de familie compleet. Van heerlijk ruim tot lekker sportief. De Kia Ceed. 4 uitgesproken karakters, maar onmiskenbaar familie.
Oh, daar wil ik heen. De Pasar Ufak.
Vak wat?
Dat is een kleine Turkse markt met alleen geiten. Het is heel apart.
Hoe weet je dat allemaal?
Van Harry, van de Sunweb. Die zit op Facebook en die kan je gewoon alles vragen. Maar hij had nog een hele goede tip. Een Turks badhuis. En dan word jij gemasseerd door een hele grote gespierde Turk.
Zoveel goede zorgen, dat verwacht je niet voor zo'n prijs. Sunweb.
Nou, Harry, bedankt.
De Kia Ceed is er nu ook als 20th Anniversary uitvoering. Standaard met onder andere een geïntegreerd navigatiesysteem en 7 jaar garantie.
Make a note of Mondays for a complete roundup of Europe's major league stories, including the champions in Europa Leagues, plus the thoughts of Arsene Wenger and exclusive interviews with the star players. Eurogoals, every Monday on Eurosport.
Hanguk Tar, official partner of the UEFA Europa League.
Get connected to sport. Megaphone.
Rolling down the coastline, past some Roman remains on the right-hand side. Byzantine remains one of the two. This area of the world absolutely just stuffed with history. Wonderful. Looks like an aqueduct behind them, or what was an aqueduct. Something similar. 1:55 now the gap with 43 kilometers to go. Some interesting teams in here. I mean, a lot of big teams. Look at that. Magnificent. A lot of big teams here. Omega Pharma, of course, here. Green Edge, Blanco, Astana, Katusha Lamprey, Merida, Lotto Belisol we've told about. But there's a good mix between those and the smaller teams, including what we will call our very own NetApp Endura here at the back, with young Eric Rousel riding. United Healthcare here, MTN Quebec here, and Gerald Cielek as well. It'll be interesting to see how he performs after Milan-San Remo. I think that was an extremely canny win by Cielek, but interesting to see how he goes against some of the bigger sprinters today again.
I think Cielek did one of the best tactical rides I've seen for a long time, actually, on Milan-San Remo. He knew exactly what he was up against and how keen those guys were to win the bike race, and he just decided to let them play out, play each other out. So fantastic win by Cielek. But I think, I think Cielek is fast, but he's actually faster when it's been a reasonably hard day, big day out there. He does climb pretty well for a sprinter. I think those days are better for him when the guys, if there are any sprinters left, they're coming in with quite heavy legs and they are a little bit on the tired side. That's when he will excel. The outright speed against someone like Kittel or Greipel, and I should start probably throwing Mitlutsenko in here as well, because I remember this guy for Mitlutsenko was third yesterday when I was racing for Crédit Agricole back in the early 2000s, and he was incredibly quick then. Unfortunately, I had a very bad accident, but he's obviously still rides his bike and still enjoys riding his bike. So
we got some very good fast sprinters in here in this the lineup for the Tour of Turkey. We shouldn't forget Daniel Shawn, of course, from NetApp. Just seen NetApp there at the back of the group. And he's the young Austrian, a very fine sprinter, actually up and coming. I think he could do fairly well in the future. He's going to do an awful lot. But there's riders just a little bit off the pace, like Andy Fenn, very good result yesterday, finishing just outside the podium places, 5th spot. Roger Kluge going well. Kluge's big problem is actually where he puts himself on the road. It's oddly, he doesn't like riding in the front either. Kluge. Fenn's very good though, very tactically aware.
Yeah, there's a lot of riders who don't like that sort of riding in the first sort of 15, 20 riders and keeping themselves up there. That prefers sort of hanging back right off the back of the peloton and just taking it easy back there. But obviously that's a dangerous move and dangerous to sort of get caught out from any splits in the peloton. But you know, a big part of sprinting is actually sort of acquiring that feel for what riders to go with, what team to follow in the lead out. If you haven't got a designated lead out train yourself, and I'm talking probably about 90% of your team, you know, being there to do your work. If you haven't got that, then you need to start looking at playing off other teams and knowing what team to go with and when to go with them, etc. That it just takes time to sort of to get that feel for it.
This is Cheng on the front, the only Chinese rider, mainland Chinese rider in the peloton. Quite a few Japanese riders here, but Cheng, part of the Argos Shimano squad. Orica Greenedge just lurking a little bit back from the front of the peloton as well. They've got a couple, well, they've got, well, not an embarrassment of riches, but a tremendous amount of sprinting talent, really. Not, as we say, in the Kittel class or the Greipel class, but Krupis can sprint, Lee Howard can sprint, Alan Davis can sprint. They're all good.
They certainly all are, and I mean, that's what makes it interesting on races like this as well, is that there are riders it might be been slightly off the pace before, but they're coming in here and they see the opportunity to take on some of the bigger riders, and you know, that's why we sometimes see this sort of riders up there that we're not used to, and I quite like that.
The portrait of Kemal Ataturk, founder of the Turkish Republic. Oh. Requiring rear wheel, that's Beppu. Fumiaku Beppu, one of, I think, 3-4 Japanese riders we have in this race. He's had a very good career, Magnus Beppu. He's been in some very good teams and always maintained a good place. Yeah,
he's you know, he's never really done any big results himself, but he's always been a valuable rider in the team, and that's always you know, he's done well for himself.
Teams beginning to get themselves into some sort of order to the front of that peloton, sweeping through. There's about 4 or 5 teams, all now with about 5 or 6 riders. They want to make sure that they're bringing people up closer to the front, not going to start any hijinks at the moment. There's still 1:38 of a gap between themselves and the breakaway riders. 40 kilometers still to go, and they really won't want to bring it back too quickly here. Gravonsky of the CCC team, Koretsky of Britannia, Ahmet Orkan of the Torku team, Yanasagno of Vini Fantini in the fluorescent yellow, Quintano of Colombia, all in the breakaway, and with Fabrizio Ferrari, the Uruguay rider of Caja Rural.
Dit is een commercial voor de Kia Optima Hybrid. We hadden hem schitterend kunnen filmen. Op eindeloze wegen, rijdend door een prachtig landschap, met adembenemende vergezichten, shots vanuit een helikopter, is ook mooi geweest. Maar dat leidt uw aandacht alleen maar af. En dat zou zonde zijn, toch? Kijk rustig verder op kia.com. Ontdek de Kia Optima Hybrid.
Saturn viert deze week haar 7e verjaardag met fantastische aanbiedingen. Zoals deze Canon EOS 600D met 2 lenzen voor maar €589. Bestel online of kom naar een van onze winkels voor nog meer verjaardagsaanbiedingen.
Saturn, zo moet techniek.
Oh, daar wil ik heen. De Pasar Ufak.
Vak wat?
Dat is een kleine Turkse markt met alleen geiten. Het is heel apart.
Hoe weet je dat allemaal?
Van Harry, van de Sunweb. Die zit op Facebook en die kan je gewoon alles vragen. Maar hij had nog een hele goede tip. Een Turks badhuis. En dan word jij gemasseerd door een hele grote gespierde Turk.
Zoveel goede zorgen, dat verwacht je niet voor zo'n prijs. Sunweb.
Nou, Harry, bedankt.
Ook bij Saturn deze INR Pro Plus Action camera. Met wifi-adapter om je opgenomen actie direct te delen.
Saturn, zo moet techniek.
I'm gonna love you like nobody's loved you. Come rain or come shine. High as a mountain and deep as a river. Come rain or come shine.
Plenty of bottle carrying going on here in the Tour of Turkey. It's MTN Quebec there in the yellow and black. I've had a very good opening part of this season. All African team. And they made a big thing about it, and they've done a magnificent job as well. Not only have they won Milan-San Remo, which was absolutely astonishing. I mean, they bought Gerald Zielek because he's not really done a huge amount over the last couple of years. They had the result of their lives. They couldn't have even hoped to have that, to be honest, MTN Quebec. But they've with Gabar, he won the first Ethiopian ever to win a stage of a 2.1 race, a really big race in the Tour de Taiwan, in a mountaintop finish. Not really the sort of mountain to get in the Alps, but even so, rode away from some very good riders like Bernie Salzberger to win that stage. So they've had a very good opening part of the season. Yannick Tanabardon rolling along, waiting for the replacement wheels. Got nice wheels. Karima's very nice too, and nicely done. Perfect example of how to change your wheel.
And also quite a good view of how much longer it takes now to change your front wheel, since we had to leave the lawyer's tabs on the front fork.
Yeah, we've been asked about this actually. What are the rules on that? Henrik Gedont. What the rules are, if the bike had been built already, the model of the bike had been built already without lawyer's tabs on, that's the little lips at the end of the forks, then you're fine.
Yeah.
If you and you can have them without them. If they are built with lawyer's tabs on, those little lips that you have to sort of undo the skewer for, then you have to leave them on. You cannot file them off as they used to be done.
Which we used to do on every single bike that we have. Is the first thing you did basically when you started building a bike was get the file out and file them down so you can drop your front wheel in and out really quickly. But for some reason we now have to have these ones left on, which means a front wheel change, which usually took about 5 to 10 seconds depending on how quick the mechanic was, now takes the better part of 25-30 seconds, because you've got to undo the quick release, get a new wheel in, do the quick release up again, and before you can close the actual lever as such, which just makes it take twice as long. So bit of a...
Well, I suppose if everybody's doing it, there's not really a problem then, is it? If everybody's doing it.
No, it's not. Well, it's always a problem when you puncture, because you're standing there and the race is going away from you.
Well, indeed.
And it's okay as long as you've got a large convoy of cars behind you. But if you're doing smaller races, or slightly smaller races even, where there's not that many cars behind the peloton, then all of a sudden you're going to be stuck chasing on your own to try and get back onto the cars. And then if you got then a commissar who's not particularly happy and compliant with you, then he's going to stop the cars as well. So you're having to chase back on the better part of 35-40 seconds, and that's not an easy thing to do. It's another puncture.
Yep, this time a rear wheel puncture for Armindo Fonseca of the Britannia team. So picking up lots of little stones and bits of debris. Now, why did he lift the wheel there and pedal? Because he needs to get it into the smallest sized sprocket on there. That's the largest gear. The smallest sized sprocket means that it's much easier to line the wheel up. And there we are. That's the way to put in the wheel, and that's where you should have that tab, the cam lever on the skewer, in between the 2 points of the triangle that make up that rear triangle on the frame there. Just means it's nice and neat out the way. It doesn't get caught by anybody else's forks or wheels or anything like that. Doesn't get pulled open. So many people, you see so many people out and they have it the other way around, pointing backwards, which is not quite as safe.
No, definitely not, and certainly not when you got them on the front fork, on the front wheel, and they're pointing in all sorts of directions, and hence why we have ended up with these lawyers tabs that we're talking about, because people ride in, bump into someone else on the road, flick open the quick release, and the wheel drops out the next time they hit a small bump, and that's why we now got the lawyers tabs, which I'm rather upset about that. We can't file
Thankfully,
that.
I've still got 2 bikes without them on, so that's quite useful.
Yeah, the problem is, I mean, for the sort of younger generation of riders as well, you know, they might have had hand-me-down bikes, or bikes have been passed through the family, and all of, you know, they've been filed down in the past, and then all of a sudden you end up, you know, having to spend quite a bit of money to rectify that, to get the to get them to be compliant with the rules.
33 kilometers to go. Masses of water being taken on. It is a warm day here in Antalya. That is Albert Timmer. He's been doing a lot of riding on the front, now at the back as water carrier. And what happens out on the road, Magnus? I mean, are people designated as water carriers for the day, or does it just happen to be that way? When you've done a little bit of work, it's the obvious thing to do, or the road captain, that's the sort of senior guy on the road, or your DS says that you're the man of the day, or is it just random, or what happens?
It's actually a very random scenario, really. You know, if you pop back to the team car to speak to the boss down there for something, then of course you're gonna load as many bottles up as you can. If you need a drink, then, you know, and no one else of your team is going, at that time, you go back, you get your 2 bottles on your bike, and then load up a bunch of bottles on your back as well while you take them out. So it kind of happens naturally,
organically.
Yeah. And you know, the time where you had sort of water boys, you know, logging bottles around for the GC riders, they're kind of over. It just happens. Even the top guys nowadays, if they go back to the car, of course they're going to get a couple of bottles.
Do some riders prefer to do that sort of role than others? They just feel natural, they feel happy just helping out other guys all the time?
Yeah, maybe so, but ultimately it's a team sport. You got to look after your teammates, because whether you're the leader of the team or whether you're the guy doing the work for the team, you're all equally valuable to the effort of trying to win the stage.
32 kilometers to go, 1:43 is the gap. They're nicely pegged at the moment. These guys are still rolling through one after another. 6 men in the break. Koretsky, Ferrari, Gravonsky, Orkan, Sano and Quintero. That is Sano on the front. He's the oldest of the bunch. 31 years of age now, the Japanese rider. 32 kilometers to go. And it's going to be a big bunch sprint again today.
You have a dream, and you have the passion. You want to go beyond what everybody else says is possible. Imagine you riding alongside a legend. This is your chance. Conquer the road.
De Ford C-Max EcoBoost is ontworpen en gebouwd rondom u. Met zijn bekroonde EcoBoost motor, door geen enkele benzinemotor geëvenaard in kracht en efficiëntie, heeft u innovatie in uw handen. De Ford C-Max EcoBoost met slechts 20% bijtelling, ook als 7-zitter, inclusief inruilpremie al vanaf €19.150.
Oh, daar wil ik heen. De Pasar Ufak.
Vak, wat?
Dat is een kleine Turkse markt met alleen geiten. Het is heel apart.
Hoe weet je dat allemaal?
Van Harry, van de Sunweb. Die zit op Facebook en die kun je gewoon alles vragen. Maar hij had nog een hele goede tip. Een Turks badhuis. En dan word jij gemasseerd door een hele grote gespierde Turk.
Zoveel goede zorgen, dat verwacht je niet voor zo'n prijs. Sunweb.
Nou, Harry, bedankt.
"30 kilometers to go. A few clouds just rolling in over the coast here in Antalya, but it is absolutely beautiful. I hope they swing the helicopter shot round because this whole area is magnificent. Got up this morning, got outside to get some breakfast, took a walk out the hotel, looked up behind the hotel, the most magnificent mountain range. I mean, they really are steep, sharp, jagged mountains here, aren't they?
They are gorgeous, and that's where we're going tomorrow. So, yeah, looking forward to a big mountain stage, actually.
Yeah, tomorrow is nasty, isn't it? I mean, it's not particularly long, 153 kilometers, but 3 Cat 1 climbs in it. And around here, that means it's reasonably hilly.
Yeah, I think we're going up. The finish is up on 1,800 meters tomorrow. Although we are climbing pretty much the whole day. So we'll start off with a second category climb, and then we got 3 first category climbs, and finishing on top of the final one. So it is a big old day. I might try and ride that for you tomorrow.
Not just that, but one of our co-commentators next door wants to have a go at that as well. Marco Coladan spinning back into the peloton. No real problems for anybody at the moment. Even the punctures at the moment are being dealt with fairly swiftly. It won't be the case fairly shortly. In the last sort of 10 or 15 kilometers, people will start to move up. Some of these teams have got a reasonably easy ride at the moment, because Lotto Belisol and Argos Shimano is doing nearly all the work on the front, and everybody else is just sort of sitting there being paced along. 1:51, the gap has gone out just a little bit with 28 kilometers to go, but rest assured that breakaway will not stay away today. There's 2 easier pickings for the big sprinters here to allow that to stay away. Orica Greenedge happy to just chat. There is MTN Quebecer. Argos doing a fine job on the front all day today. Well, sadly, Magnus, well, there are, I say sadly, in this case it is, there are always things that inspire people to perform on certain days. Today may well be one of them. Sometimes it's a birthday, sometimes it's something like that that allows a rider to just get that extra 2-3% out of themselves on the finish line. Maybe a day for Andre Greipel today. He was second yesterday, but not necessarily for the nicest of reasons for him.
No, definitely not. Andre Greipel's just had information passed him from his team car that his grandmother has just passed away, and they basically asked him what he wanted to do, and he said he's definitely going to stay in the race today. He wants to finish the stage, and then we'll see what happens after that. But sad news for André Greipel and his family. So
yeah, all the best from Eurosport.
All the best, yeah.
But it is true that certain days can inspire certain performances. We shall see. Greipel in the green jersey of points leader today. He's actually equal with the man leading overall, Marcel Kittel. Just to run through the jerseys for you again, there is a red King of the Mountains classification jersey. At the moment, that's on the shoulders of the Turkish rider Mustafa Sayat, running for the Torku Seka Sport team. That jersey sponsored by Turkish Airlines. The points classification is green. Actually, Marcel Kittel holds it, but on equal points to André Greipel. Greipel is wearing it. And then the overall classification is being led by Kittel himself in the turquoise jersey. As I said at the top of the broadcast, turquoise derives its name from the French for Turk. So that's why they've chosen to use the blue jersey, the turquoise jersey, which I think is a really nice thing to do. The best team is Lampre Merida, amazingly. It's about the only award they'll win this year. And the Beauty Spots sprint, which is a sort of separate sprints competition through the whole of the race, at the moment is being worn by Mikhail Ignatiev, who went on a very long lone breakaway, as is Agnetiv's style yesterday. This is United Healthcare. I quite like that kit. It's pretty distinctive, isn't it?
It stands out quite well, actually, when you're trying to spot them in the race, definitely. It's a nice little team as well, you know. It's not the biggest budget in the world, but you know they've worked hard and they're coming up with some pretty decent results. So I quite like them.
Don't you think that some of these teams, though, in that sort of genre or in that sort of budget and price range that they can afford to do, the certain races they can afford to, they're not quite sure what they want to be, which way they want to go. They try and do something in the States, they try and do something in Europe. They're never quite sure where they wish to go towards.
Yeah, I think you're probably right in a way there, but at the same time, you know, Europe seems to be where the majority of the sort of big races are happening. You need to be seen there, you need to be racing there at races which you know that the big organisers are looking at to acquire sort of bigger and better races for the future for your team. And you know, when you get into those bigger races, and certainly more televised racing, then it's a question of making sure that you're performing so that you get noticed, and you know, building up your reputation, and with that, you know, the funds that you have to spend on your team. So you know, if you're trying to grow a team organically, then you know that is pretty much the only way forward. You know, to increase the budget and increase the visibility. Otherwise, you've got to be very lucky, walk onto a sponsor that is happy to spend, you know, the better part of 10, 12 million pounds, euros, whatever you know, currency of those that you want to choose.
I don't think they'll be way too worried which currency it is, as long as there's that sort of figures.
Well, you know, I'll still prefer the pound, I think.
It's not cheap to step up. In global terms, running a cycling team is pretty cheap compared to, you know, Premiership football or baseball or basketball or something similar. But having said that, you know, stepping up from continental to pro-continental level, that's the 3 tiers that we have. You know, World Tour, pro-continental, and continental is a massive, massive step. You look at it, you know, 4 or 5 million euros minimum to even move up. Well, some of these teams are getting a fairly easy ride of it. There is André Greipel in the centre, in the green. Has decided to ride on for today at least. His grandmother passed away today. He's got some news. He got the news of that given to him by the director sportive. Head hanging just a little bit, as you would expect, but Greipel decided to continue for today. Some other teams, though, they're not having anything to contest in the sprint today, Magnus, so they're just having a sort of nice, easy ride behind.
Yeah, if obviously if you're not a sprinter, haven't got the that kind of a riding ability, then today is just a question of spending as little energy as possible, getting yourself to the finish in a safe way, and looking forward to tomorrow's stage. It's just the complete opposite to what the sprinters will be feeling tomorrow morning when they wake up. You know, it's all about saving as much energy as they can and getting themselves to the finish so they can have a go at the next sprinter stage.
You've been involved in extremely large teams, Magnus, at the very top of the sport. You've won one of the great races in the world, Paris-Roubaix, and you've been involved, like many other riders who've come off the tail end of their top peloton career, in smaller teams. So you know it from both sides, and of course you came up through those teams as well. How important are races like this for teams like Turku and for United Healthcare and for Caharoual and so forth, Britannia, to bring you into contact with top-rank riders?
Well, it is probably one of the few times in the year that they're going to get an opportunity to race against, the likes of Greipel and the rest of the guys here from the World Tour teams, and that's what the smaller teams, they will look forward to, and that is the high point of the year. It's you've got a very similar thing going on, like with the Tour of Britain in the UK. There's so many UK continental teams up and coming, and already established teams as well, for that matter. But for them, that is the key race of every season, and that's what the sponsors are looking to sort of justify their sponsorship on as well.
Turku, the team in question here. Andrei Mizerov. Mizerov used to ride for Astana. Very good rider, very strong, consistent rider. Now riding for the Turku team. They've put quite a lot of effort into the Turku team to bring people in. They've got another well-known name. The Spanish rider David de la Fuente is now riding for them as well. The other rider who we've already mentioned, Metlashenko. Yuri Metlashenko, another of the Ukrainians, 2 Ukrainians in the squad. Sergei Grechin is the other one. And the rest are Turkish riders. Mustafa Saya, Ahmet Okum, Mirac Kal, and Nazim Barichki, riding for Turku Sekaspor here in the green, with a black flash on one side of their jerseys. They already have a jersey to their name, thanks to Mustafa Saya's mountains classification jersey. Whether he'll be in the mountains classification at the end of tomorrow is another thing, but that's not the important thing. Their PR machine will be working overtime in the last couple of days in order to show the Turkish press that they have a jersey in the squad.
Yeah, definitely.
There's the Turku team in the middle there. Green with those black flashes, one on the right-hand side of the jersey, one on the left-hand side of the shorts. It's meant to be that way. He hasn't put his shorts on backwards.
No, with the shorts the way that they're sewn up today, it's quite difficult to put them on the wrong way, because they basically, when you take them off, they're almost put in the position where that you sit on the bike in. So I think it will look quite funny.
Yeah, it would look a bit odd. There's Koretsky at the back. This has been a stalwart team, isn't it? Britannia, it's now called Britannia Séché. It was Britannia Schüler before. It's been Britannia Côte d'Amour for... it was amazing how long it's been going, but there's some really good riders in it.
Very good riders, and it's nice to see that they are, they're sort of coming up and stepping up their game a little bit for every year, and I quite like the fact that they are there and thereabouts now.
Here's Andre Greipel. A lot of good news for Greipel to receive today. The passing away of his grandmother today, she received from the team car. Blanco bringing a man or two up towards the front now. Theo Bos, well, you'd have thought today, Magnus, would have been a perfect Theo Bos day if they could deliver him at enough speed.
Yeah, you would have thought so. I mean, Theo Bos is incredibly fast, but it just seems like either the team is lacking the skill to organise the lead out properly for him, or he's coming up that little bit short in one way or another. It just doesn't seem like they have it all there. And it's funny with, you know, a rider like Mark Renshaw available to them as well. Really, they should have the best opportunity to, as we got an attack coming from Betances.
Yep, this is Koretsky.
It's coming down to about 39-40 seconds, and if you got anything left in your legs, this is the opportunity now to kind of disappear. Unfortunately, though, the roads here are very straight, very wide, and you can see about 10 minutes up the road, so it's not like you will get sort of out of sight and out of mind, but you know, it certainly can cause an hesitation when they're catching this group. It's like, okay, we've caught everyone, and then he's already got another 30, 40, 50 seconds ahead of this current group.
Good move by Koretsky. It's the thing to do. There's nothing left for the breakaway. People often ask, you know, well, why go away in the breakaway? Well, first of all, there's always the possibility that they might stay away.
And this is the problem when you bring a break back too early. 20 kilometers to go, 35 seconds is very bridgeable for a new breakaway group.
Two riders, one from Soja-Son and one from Crelan Eufany, deciding that the time is right to make the move. And the peloton not reacting at the moment, but the sprinters team's going to be looking around at each other. Good move by Koretsky, because you could see the other guys in the breakaway not really that bothered, not fussed. People often ask, you know, what's the point of going in a breakaway then? Well, twofold. There's always the chance that everybody behind, especially in a race like this where there are no radios, might miss the fact you're still up ahead, let you get too far ahead, or in fact you just want to get the exposure for your team or yourself out on the road. Koretsky wanting to push on. The attack's not really sort of stuck though, because they're not that far behind, and these guys aren't going anywhere either. Just enough pace on the peloton to keep them from riding away easily.
Yeah, it's certainly going to take a big effort to get away here right now, and it's just a question how interested the group up ahead are as well when they catch them, whether they want to help out or whether they want to just sit there and wait. So when you're starting to attack, and you know you're having one or two guys going up the road like this, then it can cause a bit of a problem within the group. Uruguayan's not very impressed.
The Uruguayan Fabrizio Ferrari shaking his head as Koretsky gets brought back into the group. Well, he had a go. I think Anthony Delaplace is the rider from Soja-Son.
Might very well be, yeah, and Koen Barber, I think it is, from Eufany.
Pulling all sorts of faces, trying to stick in there. It is Koen Barber, but I think I think it's Delaplace just ahead, is it? Yeah, it is. Yeah, looked like him from the front.
But the problem is obviously when you're attacking away from a peloton that's already traveling at the better part of 50, maybe over that kilometers an hour, and you're trying to put some time into the peloton. You have to ride at 55, 60 kilometers an hour, and there's only so long you can do that for. Certainly as a two-up, but even as a 5-6 man group, it's very difficult to get the speed that high and keeping it that high unless you got 4 or 5 riders from one team, where you're quite happy to sacrifice everything that you have and put 100% into it. If you're in the breakaway, then you're always trying to hold that little bit back just in case we actually make it to the finish and we're going to have to battle it out for the stage win, because you don't want to spend more energy than anyone else.
Sano going on the left-hand side. This is completely fallen to pieces now, this little breakaway. Delaplace goes with him, followed by Koretsky again and Quintana, and they all try to get back on. I don't think this is going to go anywhere at all. I don't think enough people going across the gap, to be honest. If you had 4 or 5 riders maybe coming across that gap and working a little better together, well, they could work together to pull across the gap a little bit sooner, then the possibility is they could have gone a little bit further maybe, or that gives it new impetus. But not to be. Koretsky's already sat up, and the catch is just about to be made, really, with about 17 kilometers to go. As you say, Magnus, it was impossible to to get away on this sort of terrain, and there's nothing really to stop the peloton just rolling along at a reasonable speed all the time once they brought back Sano here with the 16 seconds that he's got. The only thing that might well break things up today is the person who dives into the last corner first, and that's about it, really.
That is about it, really. Yeah, I mean, it's about a kilometre from the final corner of the stage today. You need to really attack if you got any aspirations of getting away from the peloton and winning that on an attack mode. You need to go probably about 200-300 meters before that and get a good gap and kind of hope that the peloton hesitates for a moment. Go through it, the corner like you're on rails, and then open up everything that you have.
Sano's churning away at that gear.
Yeah, very big gear and kind of a rocking type of style as well, which can only tell you one thing, really: more core work needed.
Exactly. More core work needed. So there you are. That's it for all you sporty riders and club riders out there who find yourself churning away at a big gear and rocking and rolling. More core work needed. Yeah, he really is rocking around. And even with the sort of light-ish crosswinds that we've had today, he's going to be tired. De La Place coming across with Quintero, the Colombian rider. Sano gets in on the back and churns away once again to get onto the wheel of Anthony De La Place. But they're just eating up gradually into it. They'll just hang out there for what, 10, 12, 13 seconds for such a long time.
Yeah, the problem that the peloton is having is to actually slow down enough not to catch them.
Exactly.
So they'd be sitting there sort of half pedaling, and without even knowing, they're just drifting closer and closer and closer and closer. And you see teams are coming up from behind, which means that the pace gets driven up because you want to keep your position. And this particular moment is probably one of the most difficult ones. It's too far to really go all out with a lead out from 15 kilometers to the finish, but it's too close to kind of let these guys get anywhere. Well, they won't be let go up the road, really.
No, it's one of the things we don't talk about too much, but this whole sort of push effect that you get from teams coming up around towards the front, it just tends to push the front of the peloton on a little bit faster all the time. And as you say, Magnus, it's the difficulty here is bringing them back a little bit too early, the work rate that has then been put in. And it's not the fact, as we've seen on this terrain, it's not the fact somebody's going to go away on a counter-attack, because they're not really going to get the gap that they require in order to succeed, but it's the fact that there'll be just so much jostling at the front. Everybody, the impetus will go out maybe, and then there'll be loads of other teams that come to the front. There won't be any order whatsoever.
There is no order whatsoever, and that's when the sprinting becomes dangerous, and the last 15 to 20 kilometers becomes dangerous, is when you're trying to hold back from catching that breakaway, and you're still wanting to keep position at the same time as you got riders who want to come from the back and get into a better position. You always end up sort of riding on the last millimeter of what is humanly possible to stay upright on, and that's the same thing in terms of the gaps that you end up going through when you need to. So it's very, very difficult to kind of cope with this situation.
Anthony De La Place, former Europcar rider, I think, here with Sergio Som, and still Lotto Belisol and Argos Shimano on the front. They're two big sprinters, André Greipel and Marcel Kittel. Not too dissimilar, really, as sprinters. They're very powerful sprinters. Often they sprint very upright, in the sense that their arms are fairly straight, fairly locked out. The bike doesn't rock backwards and forwards in a sort of Cavendish style. They're quite similar in that way.
Yeah, I think you're right, and they open up the sprints on a very similar kind of time as well. So yes, to an extent they are similar. They're quite big gears type of sprinters, where, you know, if you're looking at someone like Francesco Chicchi, Mark Cavendish, those kind of sprinters, they're more higher revolution turnover than on actual raw power. So different types of muscle fibers being used as well with that. Obviously, the Greipel is more of a brutal kind of raw power that he sprints on, whereas Mark Cavendish and Kiki, that's pure fast twitch muscle fibers and a different type of turnover in the pedal stroke.
Yeah, totally different type of sprinters. Mind you, end result's the same. They go jolly fast, all of them.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, fair enough, yeah. Marcel, Theo Bos is somewhere in between somewhere, isn't he? He's got the endurance, but he's also got that fast turnover as well.
Yeah, I mean, when you're looking at track sprinters coming onto the road, it's kind of a strange scenario for them, because if you start thinking about how far out they actually go for in the sprint on the track at certain points, you're looking at 400 or 500 meters at points. Well, certainly 400 meters quite easily. But doing that on the road is virtually impossible because of the wind that you got coming out, the conditions around you, the ups and downs of the road itself. So the outside elements starts playing into that, and it's so much easier to sort of sit on the wheel and step out and step off the wheel. On the track, obviously, if you're having to go around the outside of it, which means that you're riding that much further, and it becomes that much harder to go around the ride. That problem you don't have on the road.
Boss's problem a lot of the time was positioning as well.
It's positioning, yeah. I think he's still working on that and having to put a lot more work into that, you know, to get himself on the right wheel to be able to open up his sprint properly. But I still firmly believe that with Boss's outright speed, they should have by now put together a strong enough lead-out train to day after day deliver him front row with 250 meters to go.
Yeah, I wouldn't say you're wrong, actually. It's remarkable that they haven't been able to do that so far. It's very strange. And then, of course, there's the third type of sprinter, a bit like yourself, Magnus, a big, powerful guy who can, if you've wound up to enough speed already, then you're good.
Yeah, no, I mean, that used to be my way of sprinting. Is just always came from behind when I was doing the sprints that I did really well in. Always came from reasonably far back, but found a clear line and just had really, really high top speed, which you know, and I can hold that for a long period of time as well. So completely different way of sprinting again.
Yeah, I suppose the arch proponent of that was Mario Cipollini, really. He's the super sprinter par excellence in that respect. You had to wind him up to a massively fast speed before he could even take off.
And to be fair, Pataki was like that as well.
Yes,
in his heyday. Although he didn't quite like the lead out to be on his last man. He didn't want it to be too quick. The second last guy, he wanted to be extremely fast, and the last man, he wanted to actually back off, almost slow down a little bit, because he has got a good jump on him, and that when he was at his best, he lived on that one. Just put everyone under pressure with the second last lead-up man that he had, back him off a little bit so they're just catching up to his wheel when you know, when he's about to open his sprint, and in that way he just basically broke everyone around him.
It's fascinating, absolutely fascinating how it works.
So I was in talks with Pataki a number of years, and you know, him wanting to acquire my services as a lead-up man for being the second last man for him.
Yeah,
to
the super fast man.
Just super fast, real high speed for as long as possible type of guy.
No, it's absolutely fascinating. One thing that the Greipels and Kittels of this world can't do is what Mark Cavendish can do, is almost stop pedaling in the middle of the sprint and then accelerate again, which is in the middle of the fastest part of the sprint, which is just an extraordinary thing to have. So the catch is made then with Sano, Quintero and De La Place caught. Last of our original breakaway men are back in, as well as De La Place, who'd given it a go. And now they will start to try and set things up for the sprint. On the left-hand side of your screen is Europcar. They were doing exactly the same at about this distance yesterday. MTN Quebec also up towards the front. They've done well, actually. They're moving towards the front at just about the right time. They could do with maybe a little bit later, bringing Gerald Thielek up towards the front. but not too bad.
It's a very difficult moment, this, to keep yourself well together without actually hitting the front. And of course, when you got the whole team behind you as well, that's the rider who's sort of gauging when to go and when not to go. It's always the guy on the front here, and he's going to get pumped up, full of adrenaline. I want to go now, I want to go now, and then it goes a little bit too early. And once you're committed, then you're stuck up the front there, because if you start moving, trying to move yourself back in a little bit again, that's when you're going to lose all the sort of the group of your team, if you will, and you end up going on two different sides of the peloton.
We do see it quite often, actually. Somebody gets a little bit over anxious, a little bit too pumped up, they pull out too big a gap, or they lose their man, and there's to come around the other side. Brian Coquard, I would imagine, and Sebastian Chavanel are the riders that Team Europcar are working for. Straight through the middle of the peloton they come to set up themselves. Argos Shimano, well, they've done an awful lot of work. This is a point where they can't afford to get swamped, and the same with Lotto Belisol, but they can still let other teams take up the pace until it's time to really enforce themselves on it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for me, the best place to sit is where MT and Quebec are right now, but move that train back about 15 meters in relation to the rest of the peloton. That would be an opportunity, a perfect position. Alternatively, as MTN here now, try and move in and sort of get up and sit right next to Europcar, because even if you're not sitting right behind a team, if you're sitting very, very close to them, you still get a certain amount of drafting going on, and that means that each rider can take that little bit longer turn and in the wind than what they do now. At the moment, you know, they're going to run out of steam, run out of riders with about 6 kilometers to go.
Well, here's a team that's going to do exactly that, just coming straight through the middle. As you can see, I think it's the Accent team here. They've got Daniele Napolitano here.
Oh,
well, he's lying in third spot here. I'm surprised he's that close to the front. Maybe they're working for somebody else, but I don't think they have the horsepower to be coming towards the front with 8k to go.
Well, they're sitting in the right position. That's the position I would like to put myself in at this point. If I can't get in on the wheel, tuck up as tight as you can onto the team on the front, and with that you're getting a little bit of shelter. And it's amazing how long a turn you can actually take when you're sitting there just like that. Even if the wind is coming straight from the front, you'll be able to do probably about 2k's further than what you normally would have been able to do. Coming into corner, left-hand corner.
Here we go. Europcar leading them through. All nice and safe. Roads here, by the way, pretty good. And they're certainly nowhere near top speed yet. Nowhere near. Still with 7 to go, and Europcar pulling it along on the front. The Accent team being broken up a little bit, getting themselves back together. Stefan van Dijk is the man right at the back at the moment. The Dutch sprinter. Well, Van Dijk's a right journeyman. He's been up and down. He's had good times, good bad times. He's been a naughty boy. He's been a good boy.
Yeah, it used to be very, very fast. I raced against him a lot on the Belgian scene back when I started out, and he was incredibly quick.
Oh, this is a bit messy.
Yeah, just because he's slowing down too much. It's not really fast enough. You need a couple of teams there to maybe help each other out to sort of string this out and keep the pace right up there.
Torku coming to the front. That is Mustafa Sayre, the Mountains classification winner, now driving it along on the front. He's now got a job to do. Blanco pulling themselves up on the right-hand side, and Filippo Pozzato now riding off the front here for Lampre Merida. Is that just because he can't see where everybody else is?
I don't think he's looked around. He was supposed to bring his team with him, but no one's really following him. They're not able to.
No, not able. He's gone off by himself with 6 kilometers to go. Now he'll see. Looks over his shoulder. Maybe he's decided to try something. I doubt it. I think he was just working for somebody else there.
Well, at least it's causing a bit of panic within the peloton. He's blown a couple of teams out there.
Well, they're coming back to him. He keeps looking over his shoulder. I thought for a minute there he's going to go for it.
Blanco well placed there as well.
Yeah, nicely placed.
Very well placed now.
They are in the blue and the black with the white stripe down the centre. You can see them there in the middle of your shot. Theo Boss is their main sprinter. You can pick him out really easily. He's got that sort of pudding bowl helmet on. that is becoming more and more fashionable. They're drifting over to the left-hand side of your shot at the moment. One team that was exceptionally well placed and have got swamped at the moment, maybe they took it up, they thought they took it up a little bit too early, was Omega Pharma Quick-Step for Andy Fenn. They were nicely placed on the right-hand side of the peloton, and they seem to have dropped off. As have Orica Greenwich. They're now on the left-hand side of your screen. Omega Pharma.
But the key is to keep yourself together, and just even if you get squashed a little bit, just stay together, wait for it, because sooner or later the peloton will move across to the other side of the road and open up a gap, and that's when you just put the hammer down and move into the position where you want to be.
Well, thankfully the wind is not too tough today, because they have this swing, 180-degree swing into the final run into for the line. And if it was very, very strong, that is when you get caught out. All this movement of lines between one side and another, trying to catch a wheel, trying to get the right position, lead your man towards the front. Let's assume, for example, you had a strong wind coming from the left-hand side this time around. As you turn around, it would be the other way around, and that's when people start to get caught out.
Alan Davis on the front there. Taking an early one, this.
Surprisingly early, 4 kilometers out.
Yeah.
Well, Orica, as we said, have got 3 men who can sprint. Krupis, Lee Howard and Alan Davis, but Alan Davis is already doing some work with Roger Kluge, it looks like, coming to the front now to do some work. No, Robert Wagner, sorry, I meant to say. Wagner just
this is better.
Pulls back in. Yeah, this is more
just
like it.
When you come into the front with 4 kilometers to go like this, just take turns like you would do in a team time trial, just through and off, and make sure that you don't empty your tank completely. Just like that, you're able to stay within the train itself, and never really go full on and take get the last bit out of yourself until you're within the last 1.5 kilometers. That's when you can open up and start doing the turns that people will see the riders peel off.
Theo Boss has a little visor on the front of his helmet. You can distinguish him in that way. He's taller as well from Mark Renshaw. This is a bit messy.
Yeah, I thought I could see
Renshaw's leading out Boss here, so Renshaw in front of Boss for Blanco hit as Lampre swamped a little bit in the middle. Omega Pharma Quick-Step trying to get across as it, this is getting a little bit dicey in the middle. United Healthcare almost getting caught out. They're trying to bring Chris Jones probably to the front. Quebecer.
Again, it's still, the pace is still not high enough. You can see all the pushing and shoving. And I would say when the peloton moves like that, usually got Napolitano somewhere in the middle of it.
Yeah, I'll have to watch that. For sure. Gerald Chilek is just shielding at the moment. Andy Fenn, Gerd Steegmans is ahead of him, giving him a bit of a lead out for he's a different team, but he's there. 2 kilometers to go, and Blanco still aren't having that pace high enough, really. Robert Wagner now beginning to wind it up just a little. We've got Omega Pharma Quick-Step in this group as well, in the lighter turquoise white and white alongside each other here around this bend. They've got to get into this point at the right time. The lead out for Andy Fenn for Omega Pharma Quick-Step, Theo Boss for Blanco, the 2 pudding type helmets there.
Graham Brown on the front.
Well, this is the dream line-out that we talked about. Graham Brown, then Mark Renshaw, then Theo Boss. Where's Marcel Kittel? He's in the turquoise jersey, remember, and the white shorts. Nicely placed at the moment. Oh, big fall! Big fall! Kittel goes down! Oh, that's a massive crash. And it was Argos Shimano, I think, who went down first. And it's anybody's sprint now, to be honest. And the win is going to come for completely unexpected. And behind, people are still sprinting in. I can see Greipel there is making his way up. He's got the green jersey on. Will he be able to make it 100 meters to go? It's a long old sprint. Well, the win comes for Orica Greenedge in the end.
That's Kropis.
Kropis, the sprinter who takes the win in the end, but a very, very big crash that's held everybody up. Aris Kropis, the Lithuanian. But that is a big one. Well, it just brought everybody else to a complete halt. But I think it was the Argos Shimano man who just got caught out a little bit. Let's have a look here. You can see Graham Brown at the front, and then the two other men.
It's Napolitano. No, it's actually the it's Renshaw that goes on Brownie's wheel.
Mark Renshaw is the man who clips somebody first, and then the Argos man goes down, and the bike flying. Look, it knocked the entire barriers over, all the way down, and everybody. Kittel caught in there.
That's one of the bigger crashes I've seen, I think.
That's huge. With everybody came to a grinding halt here. Colodan, I think it is, who's leading them out at this point. But there's Kropis. He's a very fine sprinter in his own right. Looking over his shoulder is André Greipel. He knows that something big has happened. He's got through. Going for the third spot. And wow, what a finish. Well, who would have expected? It was looking dangerous, wasn't it? All the way along. It was Colodan. Well, amazing. One of the biggest crashes I've seen for a long, long, long time, and it immediately threw me into a coughing fit, so I couldn't even say anything.
Looks like one of the oh, that's
Boss.
That's Boss that's down. That's potential collarbone, that one then.
Oh dear, that's very hard lines on so many people. That's Napo there, getting up. Daniel Napolitano and Stefan van Dijk with him. Both of them would have been right up the front, but that was a big crash. Possibly looked bigger than it is, because we had about, 10-15 men on the ground, but the rest of them all came to a halt. There's nowhere they could go. But this man got through. Kropis of the Orica Greenedge squad. As I say, a very good sprinter in his own right.
Yeah, it certainly is. And I mean, to win a bike race, you've got to stay on the wheels and get yourself out of trouble.
And Greipel, good riding by Greipel, keeping himself out of trouble.
Yeah, definitely.
There is Marcel Kittel, leader this morning. He's finishing on his bike and seems to be okay. You have to do this, of course. You have to bring your bike over the line to be officially finishing the stage. Wow, that was a big one. Let's see who's on the ground still. Let's watch it again. Here we go. Now the three blue, black and white of Blanco are here. Watch for Renshaw. Renshaw coming up behind. The Boss coming up behind. Yes, it's Renshaw who just touches Graham Brown, and that brings everybody else down. General classification then will go to André Greipel, who, look, you can just see, got himself around the outside there into clear space.
That was, I don't know whether it was skill or whether it was luck that got him around that one, but nevertheless, he got himself around it. And
bit of both, I think, really.
Yeah, that is a big crash.
André Greipel just seeing what was happening, just going around the outside on the right-hand side. Managing to keep upright. Aris Kropis takes the win. And a fine win it was as well. Let's have a look back at it. Marco Colodan seemed to have clear air for a while. But Colodan in the light green there. Well, I knew he was up against it when Kropis came through past him, but with 100 meters to go, André Greipel was still challenging. Greipel will take over the overall lead. That's some consolation for him. Krupa is doing an excellent job of staying upright and getting through. Koledan just out sprinting Greipel for second spot. My word. Yes, it was Mark Renshaw who just touched the wheel of the man in front of him, and that I think he was just about getting ready to open up. Maybe he expected Graham Brown to swing off a little bit to allow him to take up the pace making there for Theo Bos. I mean, they'd done everything right up to that point. Let's just see it again. Oh, we're not. I thought we were going to see it again for a second. Edis Krupis takes the win ahead of Marko Koledan, Andre Greipel, Greshkin of the Turku team, Borsov of Katusha, and then Lee Howard. Vincenti Reines, well, there he is, still in the game after all these years. But maybe Renshaw just thought he was going to take it up from that point.
Very unexpected.
Thank you. I hope to have a good result here because I was quite good all day. And sprint was really dangerous, and it was hard to come in the front, but finally I did, and it was crash. I could avoid the crash, and it was 500 to go, and I just start sprinting.
And we know you as a good sprinter, but were you working for Lee Howard today?
No, it was day for me, so I did my job.
And listen, you've got Andre Greipel in second place behind you. That validates the sprint, but a massive crash. Did you see the crash? Did you see what happened?
Yeah, I saw. Blanco guys fell down and all the rest behind. And I was like very close to the borders, but I could pass.
Idis, congratulations. A big win for you today. Important for your career as well.
Yeah, thank you very much.
We can do another one if you want.
So Matt Rendell, I think, doing the interviews by the sound of it. Haven't seen him here yet, but certainly sounds like him. Oh. Yeah, and what's happened there, Magnus? Come on.
Oh, it is hard to kind of pick from this camera angle, but I would say that it's a touch of wheels that makes him go down. It certainly looks like it, and you know, it's so difficult when you're sitting at that speed. You have to run on the last millimeter of space. You're sitting so close to the wheel in front of you, and all it takes is that lapse of concentration. You know, the rider in front of you does something that doesn't normally do, and a lot of it happens on instinct. You act on what has been practiced and you've done again and again and again. Just racing incident.
Just a racing incident. Yep, well, Mark Renshaw just touching the wheel of
second again in the stage,
his
affected by a very, very high-speed crash. Did you see what happened?
Yeah, it just happened in front of me, and yeah, I don't know exactly what happened. I just tried to stay on my bike, and I could avoid, but I was 500 meters to go. I was on 0 kilometers per hour and out of my pedals, and then I just kept going, and I hope everybody's okay, but I already heard that it was quite a big crash, and hope everybody's okay.
One of those stages where after yesterday, several of the big teams didn't manage to put a sprinter in the top 5. A lot of anxious teams trying to make up for yesterday. Was it nervous in the final 2 or 3 kilometers?
Yeah, it was headwind, and yeah, it's you have to time it right. When you're at too early in front, then you drop back to the bunch. But yeah, the team did a good job, and I had a good position after the last corner. And normally, if the sprint would have been like normal, I think I could have better chances than to become second today. But yeah, I think I still tried my best, and it was hurting a lot the last 500 meters. But
Andre, it'll hurt a little bit more. You'll have to go up the stairs twice because you got second place, and you'll also take over the points competition. Is that going to be something you'll try and defend for the rest of the week?
Well, I think I also have the leader jersey now, what I calculate, but now, of course, the point jersey, it's possible, but yeah, we will see.
Thanks, Andrew.
Andre Greipel managing to work his way around the outside of that crash, right up towards the front he was too. And there we are. Confirmation, Andre Greipel takes over the leader. His jersey here, the turquoise jersey out of Marcel Kittel and Edis Krupis. A good win for Krupis today for Green Edge, but not so good it looks for Theo Bos and a number of other riders who've come down hard. They were still on the ground by the time we left the shots for that. Tomorrow's stage, 153 kilometers with 3 first category climbs in it. It's going to be a completely different sort of day. Tomorrow we'll see the climbers coming to the fore, or the strong men who can make it over a shorter day with 3 separate climbs. Not one that you'd relish, I don't think, Magnus, this one.
Not my type of day, no, definitely not. But I'm sure it's going to be an interesting stage nevertheless, and obviously the first day for the real GC contenders, so I think we'll have a good finish.
Well, today's been marked out by an enormous crash at the end. Congratulations to Edis Krupis for actually getting past it, and for Andre Greipel for taking over the leader's jersey. Tomorrow's Tour of Turkey from Antalya to El Mali, 153.5 kilometers in the mountains, a second cat and 3 first category climbs to take in 1400 CET live with myself and Magnus Baxter tomorrow here on Eurosport. Poor old Marco Colodan. Thought he might have had a stage in the bag there. I didn't count on Edis Krupis. Look, sits up. Can't beat him, he says. He just about saw Andre Greipel coming at him and then flung the bike at the line. A good win for the Lithuanian and for Orica Green Edge. A win is a win, but we hope everybody else is okay. We'll see you tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your day, whatever you're doing. From Antalya, bye for now.
Giro d'Italia from May 4th to 26th and live on Eurosport and Eurosport 2.